So these are the signs. Capreit has a sign, daycare has a sign. A candidate for public office has a sign. What Capreit started their allegations against Kevin Clarke is saying that these signs interfere with the reasonable enjoyment of the tenants at 4000 Lawrence Avenue because they are handwritten and it interferes with the integrity of the property. That was the first application Capreit filed against Kevin Clarke back in July of last year. Those allegations Capreit filed because Mr. Clarke has filed a large amount of maintenance, repairs, and safety concerns with the City of Toronto. And the City of Toronto placed numerous extremely large amount of work orders against Capreit property management. Part of their allegation says a sign fell down like this and nearly hit a child. So the child's probably walking. They said there was a big windstorm. But it eventually turned out that that also didn't happen. So after a judgment was passed against Kevin Clarke, because Kevin Clarke ended up in the hospital, Kevin Clarke asked for a review of the judgment. And then Kevin Clarke filed a counterclaim against Capreit. The Landlord and Tenant Tribunal ruled against Capreit and ordered Capreit to pay Kevin Clarke $1,000 by September 7th. Middle of September passed. Kevin Clarke has not received any funds from Capreit and has not heard back from Capreit. So Kevin Clarke has a court date on the 21st, and on the 21st, Capreit approached Kevin Clarke and asked to enter into a mediation agreement. Part of that mediation agreement says Kevin Clarke will remove a YouTube video that of the property manager attacking him by one of his campaign signs by the 28th of September. Another term is because Kevin Clarke has filed so much maintenance complaints, and because of the practice that managements normally just blow off the tenants, but Kevin Clarke don't get blow off. He proceeds to see that the work that needs to be done here is done. So Kevin Clarke will agree not to go into the office. Kevin Clarke agrees to that because Kevin Clarke is disabled. He has got a degenerative back disease. He has no purpose to go to the office, and he will write email. But Capreit has a practice of not responding to the email. Capreit only does what they want to do. And the other term is that he would not videotape staff or employees. And Kevin Clarke has never done that in the first place. All he's ever done is videotape maintenance and repair improprieties of Capreit property management. Kevin Clarke's first complaint started, well, aside from the ones that started in the back, started here, where this roundabout was totally eroded. All these are documented, photos and videos. And Kevin Clarke filed a complaint about this pole hanging out in the roadway. The City of Toronto, I guess, ordered Capreit to straighten out the pole and to fix the roundabout because all the concrete chip were flying at people as they passed by. This was done through a complaint filed by Kevin Clarke with the City of Toronto. The second concern was a busted vent over here. And this vent has over a 20-meter drop. Kevin Clarke filed a complaint with the City of Toronto because this was totally rusted and eroded, and as you can see, the vent has been replaced. Another complaint filed by Kevin Clarke with the City of Toronto is this busted garage. This was halfway hanging down, and through complaints from the tenants, Kevin Clarke filed a complaint with the City of Toronto, and as you can see, it's been repaired. This is the last complaint filed by Kevin Clarke with the City of Toronto before we go to the back. And this was all jagged, all busted, all eroded. Kevin Clarke filed a complaint, as you can see, new sidewalks, and it has been repaired. Another complaint filed by Kevin Clarke is the parking lot. This is a totally new parking lot, and this parking lot was replaced due to complaints filed with the City of Toronto by Kevin Clarke. This is being fixed due to complaint filed by Kevin Clarke with the City of Toronto, and as you can see, the new parking lot. We go over here to the lighting. These 3 out of 4 lighting did not work. Kevin Clarke filed a complaint with the City of Toronto. Capreit was ordered to fix it. This, Kevin Clarke filed a complaint with the City of Toronto in reference to unsafeness of this and how this was shaky. As you can see, they put in a new walkway, but as you can see, they do not maintain it, which is the problem with Capreit property. Man, you see that? They do not maintain it. Children are going down here, and it is the arm to them. Kevin Clarke filed a complaint about the despicable state of the swimming pool. Eventually, CBC did a story on it, and the pool was open for the summertime. Kevin Clarke filed a complaint about the large amount of broken glass, busted glass here. All over here was dirt full of busted glass and dog poo. Kevin Clarke filed a complaint. Capreit put down grass, and as you can see, this playground was in a despicable state. And the initial complaint started when Kevin Clarke wanted to put on, as you can see, dog poo. As Kevin Clarke puts on a children's festival, and he could not get a plot at the resource center, and the management here was very anti-children, it seemed. So Kevin Clarke went over here to Morningside Park, and he noticed there was a hole in the fence, and he filed a complaint with this, and the city had ordered them fix it. Now it's gone. All this was littered with garbage. Kevin Clarke filed a complaint. The city came in and removed nearly 2,000 pounds of garbage from that side and over that side, and Kevin Clarke paid a bunch of youth to clean this up, and he planted a summer garden here and had summer barbecues with children. And eventually the first incident with the property management came when Kevin Clarke observed the property management and staff from Capreit destroying the children's garden that was created. Due to all those complaints by Kevin Clarke, Capreit Property Management proceeded with a wrongful attack and eviction of Kevin Clarke, using the fact that Kevin Clarke's housing is through the Mental Health Commission of Canada, and he received that housing from his days of homelessness. Capreit used that to fabricate a claim that says Mr. Clarke has a disability, a mental disability, that possesses him to write his name on campaign signs. And by the workers' testimony, that they could not get Mr. Clarke to curb his behavior, when Mr. Clarke was in fact a registered candidate for city councillor in Ward 2, Etobicoke North, to succeed Rob Ford. And you tell me, what interfere with the integrity of the property more? The parking lot, there's the road, the pool that was busted, the playgrounds that was in despicable state, or a man running for public office, writing his name on a campaign sign. So that was the first misrepresentation of facts by Capreit Property Management. And what led to the eviction was that on September 26th, Kevin Clarke encountered a Capreit staff out here, inquired about the payment Capreit was ordered to pay. The staff told Mr. Clarke to go to the office. Mr. Clarke went to the office. Mr. Clarke got the lawyer's phone number, contact the lawyer. The lawyer said they had filed an appeal on it, which was conspicuous that it would come only a couple of days, 3 weeks after it was due. And in turn, the lawyer says, as soon as the judgment comes in, Mr. Clarke will receive his payment. On the 27th of September, the judgment came in. Mr. Clarke went into the Capreit office to inquire about the payment of the judgment. And as you can see, there's cameras there, cameras over there. But yet, let's see if we can get in here. As you can see, more cameras there. So, are you saying that Mr. Clarke going into this office where there is another camera present there and videotaping receiving a check from that individual, how can that violate their privacy when Mr. Clarke is already being recorded? But the key was the testimony of this individual who said there was 3 prospective tenants in the office and a contractor. And Mr. Clarke was allowed, and Mr. Clarke went in, and he was not talking about no legal matter. He was just talking about politics, and they lost 3 prospective tenants. I have provided a tape to the Landlord and Tenant Tribunal to show that this individual's testimony was a lie, because just as there is right now, you can see from the tape, there was only one other person in the office aside from the 2 staff behind the desk. So if there's only one person in the office, how could you have lost 3 prospective tenants? And you can also hear from the tape and see that Mr. Clarke went in and dealt with a legal matter, which is payment of the $1,000 that was ordered by the Ontario Court, Ontario Social Justice Tribunal. So that in turn was within the mediation agreement. Mr. Clarke has been harassed. Mr. Clarke has been attacked by the superintendents. Mr. Clarke has been videotaped in his home. And all because there is allegation of mental health issue due to his house and file. It is not grounds for you to deny the truth of this matter, which Mr. Clarke has provided to you. It is cruel and inhumane to order someone evicted January 17th in the middle of winter time, especially when this individual was in the right. And it was only retaliation by Capreit Property Management for the hundreds of thousands of dollars they had to pay for repairs and maintenance, which were brought forth by Kevin Clarke. There's also an allegation of Capreit's property manager attacking a 15-year-old girl in the stairwell. That has been ignored. There is a minimum 8 tenants in support of Mr. Clarke. That has been ignored. There is 8 landlord and tenant case against Capreit, but that's been ignored. So why is Mr. Clarke being evicted in the middle of winter time for cleaning up this despicable maintenance, repair, and safety standards of Capreit Property Management? You have the word of 8 tenants. You have 8 different orders against Capreit. You have all the complaints Mr. Clarke filed with the city over a year and a half, and the only thing you have is the testimony of an individual, one Capreit staff that is now proven to have been a false testimony. That was a lie, and yet the eviction of Kevin Clarke still stands. Kevin Clarke is disabled. He's on disability, and his mental illness comes from the pain he suffers from the physical disability. We ask the Attorney General of Ontario to right this wrong, and the Social Justice Tribunal to right this wrong. God is with us. Have a great day.